the ball, George. Ball up.
Fight like a man, would ya?
I don't know how to fight. I'm a comedian.
This week on At the Movies, from the writer, director, and producer of The 40-Year-Old Virgin and Knocked Up, comes Funny People with Adam Sandler and Seth Rogen.
Have you even killed anybody? Yeah. Well, I mean, falling asleep on someone, that doesn't count.
James Gandolfini is a high-ranking Pentagon official trying to keep the war at bay in the movies.
Plus, Robin Williams tries but fails to earn the title of World's Greatest Dad.
You destroyed, man.
You the guy who was on after me?
It's very hard to be romantic with women when you live on a pull-out couch. Once those two little legs come down, you know it's on, right?
You were good.
Maybe you can write me some jokes.
Adam Sandler plays a movie star who goes back to his stand-up roots after learning he has a life-threatening disease in Funny People. I'm Ben Mankiewicz from Turner Classic Movies.
And I'm Ben Lyons from E! Entertainment. With movies like The 40-Year-Old Virgin and Knocked Up, writer-director Judd Apatow has proven he knows how to make funny movies with heartfelt, genuine stories about people finding themselves and each other. And that's what he's done with his third directorial effort, Funny People.
I'm just trying to help you.
Are you mad that you died at the end of Die Hard?
I don't understand the reference.
Kind of looks like those two guys in the second Matrix movie.
Adam Sandler stars in probably his most challenging role to date, playing George Simmons, an A-list movie star and comedian. You wouldn't think that playing a movie star comedian would be much of a stretch for Sandler, but this character is much darker, forced to reevaluate his life when he's diagnosed with cancer.
I'm so happy you did the right thing. You moved on. You got a good life. And I just got nothing, Laura. I hate that. I hate that it could have been me with you. I could have had those kids with you.
Leslie Mann plays the girl from Sandler's past who got away. And with the help of his new assistant and joke writer, Ira, played by the very funny Seth Rogen, he sets out to win her back. The chemistry between Rogen and his mentor is simply terrific, and their interplay comprises most of the movie's memorable moments.
I'll give you $50,000. Don't make me suffer. Please. Kill me, Ira. I'm begging you.
Can you at least give me like a night to think about it?
Ha! Think about it. You would do it. Oh, I hate you, man. Oh, no.
What would you have done for $100,000? Chop my head off?
The movie also stars the very funny Jonah Hill and Jason Schwartzman as Rogen's roommates.
When I was younger, my grandfather died, and right after he died, the candle started flickering, and then it just went out.
You don't pass through fire to get to heaven. I think he went to hell.
You're gonna make fun of me right now just after I opened up to you guys like that?
It's not my fault your grandfather's in hell. It's not a big deal. Some grandpas go to hell.
Eric Bana appears in the third act and is strong as Mann's clueless Australian husband. And the movie features a collection of cameos ranging from James Taylor to Eminem. Apatow has always found a balance of heart and humor in his best films, and Funny People is no exception. See it.
The difference here between Apatow's previous work and Funny People is that here in the middle of this funny movie about funny people, somebody gets cancer. And I think it would have been really easy for the movie to slow down or split into two movies, and you'd be left saying, is this a tragedy, is this a comedy? But for whatever reason, the strength of Apatow's writing and directing, obviously, and the performances, there's never that moment. It walks a perfectly fine line between being funny and tragic at the same time, and I think it really works.
Absolutely. He's really matured as a filmmaker. If you just look at the movies he's produced and directed now over the years, this is by far his most impressive work. You know, you even look at The Apartment, where Seth Rogen and his buddies live, compared to The Apartment where they lived and Knocked Up. They're maturing on screen as well. And, you know, Apatow does a great job of keeping it simple. He allows great performers to do what they do best. He allows, of course, people to improv and get off the page.
Jonah Hill, Seth Rogen, I think seen in the past as these funny guys who look funny. I think they both delivered real acting performances here. And, you know, a friend of mine mentioned to me this week, he said, there's something about Leslie Mann, I don't know what it is. And I think we need to stop saying, I don't know what it is. She's beautiful, she's funny, she's a great actress.
And hardworking and talented, and really adds some energy into the film when she shows up on screen.
Yeah, a little long, but it still works. I think you should see Funny People. Our next movie is Adam, a sweet, atypical love story. Hugh Dancy is Adam, in his 20s, and living alone for the first time in his New York apartment after the death of his father. Adam suffers from Asperger's syndrome. It's a high-functioning form of autism. He can take care of himself, but social interaction is a constant struggle. Nevertheless, Adam meets and finds himself instantly drawn to his neighbor, Beth, played by Rose Byrne.
Well, I have books and telescopes, star charts. You could borrow some stuff. And we could go out and look at sky tonight.
Maybe. Sometime. Sure.
Okay.
Well, I'll just be hauling these enormous grocery bags upstairs now.
Okay.
There's a completely believable attraction between the two, though Beth is understandably ambivalent about whether they actually can have a future together. Byrne, very impressive, playing compassionate yet guarded effectively. And Dancy is just so good here, avoiding turning Adam into a Rain Man replica, instead giving the character his own story, making him richly human, with a brain that works perfectly well, just unlike what the rest of us are accustomed to.
I'm sorry. Some chocolate.
I'm not Forrest Gump, you know.
Of course not. I didn't eat. Was that a joke? Are you joking?
I can't joke.
The only problem with the film is a subplot involving Beth's parents that seems far too scripted, but that is hardly enough to spoil writer-director Max Mayer's film. See it.
Hugh Dancy is really spectacular in this film. You know, he's playing a character, Adam, with a condition that isn't really curable. It's manageable, and he has to battle that throughout every day of his life. Everything he does is kind of consumed by this state that he's in. And that's what's so great about the film, is that these are real characters that are existing in the real world. Just, boy, watching Rose Byrne develop as an actress is quite enjoyable as well. Two really strong performances hold this thing together.
Yeah, watching Hugh Dancy, sort of, you see in every scene the internal battle that he's going through, struggling with his condition, but trying to sort of get along in life. Again, it's a role that could easily have slipped into caricature or, as I said, a replica of Rain Man, but he keeps it sort of fresh and, as I said in the review, incredibly human throughout. I think a really impressive performance.
This isn't one of those slick studio-produced romantic comedies with bigger stars that have come out recently that doesn't feel real. This feels genuine.
And nice to see this complicated movie then resist the temptation to give us a pat, perfect ending.
It's genuine, it's an intention from start to finish, and I think you can see Adam.
Coming up next, James Gandolfini stars as a general trying to keep us out of the war in Iraq.
I'm ready to leak this, you know.
When do you want to leak it?
Me?
Isn't that what you were suggesting?
This is the problem with civilians wanting to go to war. Once you've been there, you never want to go again unless you absolutely have to. It's like France.
Imagine taking the brilliant comedy style of The Office and having those same characters be the very same people who decided to invade Iraq. That's what you get with In the Loop, a well-executed, satirical look at how incompetence, manipulation, and self-preservation inside the British and American governments led to the invasion of an unnamed Middle Eastern country that's clearly meant to be Iraq.
So this is the number of combat troops available for an invasion according to these figures.
1,000?
12,000 troops, but that's not enough. That's the amount that are going to die. And at the end of a war, you need some soldiers left, really, or else it looks like you've lost.
James Gandolfini is amusing as Lieutenant General George Miller at the Pentagon, but actually trying to work to prevent what seems to be an unstoppable march towards war. The movie crisscrosses the pond from London to Washington and New York with a collection of characters more concerned with maintaining their power than getting at the truth. Tom Hollander plays Simon Foster, an over-his-head British cabinet member, easily manipulated by everyone around him.
So this is all going to spin along from here, and we're going to have a vote, and we're going to go to war. And we're going to fight people, and we're going to kill them, and our children are going to get killed. And this is exactly the sort of thing that I didn't want to do when I went into politics.
Well, that's exactly why you have to stay in government, so you can influence things. You can, in here, you can influence things, you can delay things.
The writing here is spot on, with one smart and funny line after another. And it's hard not to think of The Office, both the British and American versions, as the style of humor here is clearly influenced by both. The movie is in limited theatrical release, and it's available on demand. Stay in the loop on good movies this summer and see In the Loop.
James Gandolfini is such a terrific actor, and I think it's worth pointing out that the guy you see over our shoulders having the argument with him is an actor named Peter Capaldi, who steals scenes from James Gandolfini.
He is hysterical in this movie. Foul-mouthed, cursing, out of control.
But there are really some terrific performances. Capaldi, noteworthy. David Raish, who we also saw in Burn After Reading.
A terrific actor.
He plays the sort of Undersecretary of State for Policy, and they have sort of the misnomers. He's running a committee called, like, the Committee on Policy policy, which is actually the war committee. Again,
funny that he happens to also be in Burn After Reading, which is similar in the sense of it's taking a look at people in power who are completely incompetent. So you feel like a fly on the wall inside these meetings in the offices, and you see how utterly ridiculous everybody is.
Every movie that more clearly tells us how we march toward the war through bullying, intimidation, and making opponents seem crazy is worth seeing. I definitely think this movie is worth seeing. Coming up next, Robin Williams gets serious in the dark comedy World's Greatest Dad.
And on next week's show, Meryl Streep takes on icon Julia Child, Julie and Julia. Plus, Channing Tatum and Sienna Miller star in the big screen version of G.I. Joe.
Real American heroes.
Do something together tomorrow.
Yeah, like build a rocket?
Sure, if you want to.
That's retarded.
Yeah.
Our next film stars Robin Williams as the world's greatest dad, a satirical comedy from writer-director Bobcat Goldthwait. Yes, the squeaky-voiced, quirky comic. He's actually been directing talk and comedy shows for years. Here, Robin Williams plays a single father who also teaches poetry at his teenage son's school. And his son is, well, as unpleasant as a teenager can be. Unmotivated, sulky, mean-spirited, misogynistic, and sweaty. Otherwise, you know, a great kid.
So, Kyle, do you have a girlfriend?
I'm not going to talk to you about my personal affairs.
Okay.
What's up?
You guys doing it?
Kyle, that's the son, is played exceptionally well by Daryl Sabara. And Williams abandons all the mania he so often brings to performing. He takes what is a remarkably funny script and plays the sad sack father, a failed writer, an underappreciated teacher with understated angst and consistent humor.
Why can't we give love? Give love.
Stop. Jason, you didn't write that. That's a Queen Bowie song, Under Pressure. What were you thinking?
I didn't think you knew that one.
Jason, I'm white. True. Sit down.
About halfway through, this film does get darker, but it maintains its sharp satirical flair. Williams ends up manipulating his son's failure, I don't want to say how, to serve his own purposes. It's a different film after that, but it never loses its way or its wit. This, I think, is a little gem. World's Greatest Dad is available on demand and will have a limited theatrical release in August. See it.
You say it's a little bit darker. I want audiences to be clear here. Just because it stars Robin Williams as the world's greatest dad, it's not a zany comedy.
No,
not at all. It's a little morbid, a little darker than what you might expect. And boy, is he terrific in the role. Deals with a lot, raising this really kind of unappreciative and difficult teenager. And you just feel for the guy. And it's just a wonderful performance in a film that kind of struggles to find its tone a little bit at times. You say it's remarkably funny. I don't know if it's remarkably funny, but it's definitely got something special to it and something that really makes it stand out from sort of everything else.
I think Goldthwait wrote a terrific scripter. I think it's very funny, and I think it manages to stay funny after it takes its rather dark turn. I mentioned him, but Daryl Sabara, who plays the kid, I mean, to play a child and to make the audience loathe that child as much as he's able to do, really, really effective.
And Robin Williams never shows that, though. You know, the reason why they call him the world's greatest dad is because he's trying. He's just trying to find any way to connect with his son.
Yeah, well, it's a kid who hates music, hates movies, hates his father, hates his friends, hates school, hates girls. No, doesn't hate girls. That's the one thing he doesn't hate. But,
and you know what? He makes it work, and it's just a tough movie, but a good movie. I think you should see The World's Greatest Dad. In the last year on this show, we have reviewed a Swedish vampire film, Let the Right One In, the disappointing, even if insanely popular Twilight, and now another vampire movie, this time from Korea, called Thirst. Director Park Chan-wook delivers a slow and brooding story of a priest who suffers from a medical experiment gone bad and is changed forever into a blood-thirsty vampire. Funny at times, perhaps not purposefully so, it's never truly scary or really even thrilling. It only begins to come together when a beautiful woman starts to fall for the priest turned vampire.
여기서 뛰어내릴 수 있어요?
The film struck a chord with audiences at this year's Cannes Film Festival, partly because of its strong visual style, which I respect, but it missed the mark with me. Fans of vampire lore might enjoy it, but I found myself bored and uninterested. Skip it.
Well, I disagree with you. First of all, I thought it was the best Korean vampire movie I've seen this summer.
Such an abundance of those hitting the box office, huh?
Park Chan-wook, the Korean director, you mentioned the visual style. This movie looks great.
Absolutely.
A lot of
Definitely
locations.
looks great. I had some problem with the characters, and maybe some of the jokes lost in translation didn't work for me.
I really thought it moved along. And Song Kang-ho, who plays the priest, I thought really an effective job. I think this guy is a really good actor. And as he becomes a vampire, he's not happy about becoming a vampire. And what he tries to do throughout is survive by drinking human blood, but he doesn't want to kill anybody. And I thought sort of that internal conflict that he demonstrated, I thought really worked.
He's a vampire with a heart. He's a nice vampire.
He is a nice vampire,
okay.
But it's a struggle. He tries to be a nice vampire throughout the film, and I thought that worked. I thought it was actually kind of moving at times.
But we don't see that till much later in the movie. I feel like it takes so long to get going. You said the pacing of the film is something you enjoyed about it. I didn't really become invested in these characters until almost 2 hours into the movie, and by then I think it's too little too late.
Well, I mean, it's a long movie. It probably could have been shorter, but the fact is, it was entertaining enough to me. There were moments where I was genuinely scared and moments where I was genuinely moved. I think it's worth seeing. So obviously, I think you should see Thirst. Coming up next, we reviewed Funny People earlier in this week's show. And on our DVD Out Now segment, we'll take a look at some early work from Adam Sandler, Judd Apatow, and Leslie Mann.
He was mad at me as mom because of what happened.
Give me a sec. No. Good guy. Bad guy.
Time to take a look at DVDs Out Now. Earlier on this week's show, Ben and I both recommended the Adam Sandler movie Funny People, and it got me looking at other Sandler movies. I think my favorite is Spanglish, a film unlike most other Sandler efforts in that he's one of the most mature characters in the film. Director James Brooks is taking us into a manic household, parented by Sandler and Tia Leone as his hysterical yet charming wife. And into their lives comes Paz Vega, their housekeeper, who speaks only Spanish, and her daughter.
This is the job. These are the decisions. When to push them, when to back them. Worrying about your children is sanity. And being that sane can drive you nuts.
Sandler plays a fully developed grown-up well, and Tia Leone gives a performance of great breadth, making us both laugh and recoil at her behavior, leaving one to wonder why this exceedingly talented actress is not working more.
Continuing our theme of previous work from the people that brought us Funny People, my pick is The Cable Guy, which was produced by Judd Apatow. Starring Jim Carrey, Matthew Broderick, Funny People star Leslie Mann, and directed by Ben Stiller, it's a dark comedy that features great comedic chemistry between Carrey in the title role and Broderick as his unassuming customer.
I just don't have any room in my life for a new friend.
So, what are you trying to say?
Lots of memorable moments here. Carrey really went all out for the first time in his career, showcasing that he was more than just a collection of funny faces. The Cable Guy is a bizarre and twisted, character-driven comedy that still remains one of Apatow's best. I feel like it's on TV all the time.
It is, and I like that Stiller actually is in the movie in that wonderful role as the Eric Menendez lookalike.
Oh, that stuff is great.
And we still don't know how that trial turned out. So both The Cable Guy and Spanglish are available now.
Want to know what you can't miss this weekend? Well, stay tuned for my 3 to see.
I'm in love with summer.
Closed captioning for At the Movies is sponsored by...
What would you say if I told you that drivers who switched from Geico to Allstate saved an average of $473 a year?
No way.
Way.
Hotel provided by Park Hyatt Chicago. Chicago's award-winning hotel and luxury dining experience, located in the heart of Chicago's Magnificent Mile on Water Tower Square.
Okay, recapping the movies on this week's show. A great week for movies. We had a lot to recommend. We both agree you should see Funny People, Adam, In the Loop, and World's Greatest Dad. But we split on Thirst. I say see it. Ben says skip it.
Time now for my 3 to see. Starting things off at number 3, a movie we reviewed on this week's show, In the Loop, starring James Gandolfini. A nice surprise that had me laughing throughout. Number 2, also from this week's show, Funny People, from writer, producer, director Judd Apatow. This is a triumph for the comedic mind, and Adam Sandler gives the best performance of his career. And at number 1, 500 Days of Summer, starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Zooey Deschanel. It's expanding into more theaters. It's refreshing to see a story that's told differently, written better, and features superior acting than anything else of the genre we have seen in recent years.
That's it for now. Remember, though, we are always online, and you can also follow us on Twitter. Just go to atthemoviestv.com to find out how.
Be sure to join us next week when we'll have reviews of Meryl Streep and Amy Adams in Julie and Julia, plus G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra. And until then, as always, we'll be at the movies.
Yuck! Oh! Never apologize.
Go, go, go!
Activon Ultra Strength for powerful pain relief. A convenient applicator means no messy creams. Activon, apply directly where it hurts for joint pain, muscle pain, arthritis, and backache.
Millions of pet owners trust 1-800-PET-MEDS for fast service, free shipping, and big savings. Call now or order online from 1-800-PET-MEDS, America's largest pet pharmacy.
IRS problems? A tax relief agreement can help you.
I settled my tax debt for $800.
For a free consultation, call 888-644-3116 now.
Nice finger. A wart could get used to this.
Did it get cold?
Dr. Scholl's Freeze Away removes warts fast with as little as one treatment.
You'll miss me.
Dr. Scholl's Freeze Away.